Something happened to you. You don't know exactly when. You might not even remember the specific moment, but at some point in your life, something reached inside your chest and squeezed. Not because anyone touched you, not because anything physical happened to your body, but because another person decided you weren't worth including. And you felt it. Not metaphorically, physically. In your chest, your throat, somewhere behind your ribs. And if you've ever wondered why something so social could feel so much like something so bodily, why the word heartbreak exists in the first place, why languages across every culture reach for words like wounded and crushed and cut when they talk about social pain, then this is the story you didn't know you needed, because the answer isn't poetic, it's biological. Maybe it was a lunch table in middle school. You walked over with your tray, moving through the noise of the cafeteria, scanning for a seat. You spotted one, you headed toward it, and then someone looked up, and something shifted in their expression, and they said the seat was taken. It wasn't. You both knew it wasn't. You set your tray down somewhere else, wherever, it didn't matter, and sat down and stared at your food. You weren't crying. You weren't even sure what you were feeling. You kept your face neutral. You pretended to be interested in whatever was on the table. You ate slowly, deliberately, the way you do when you're trying to look like you're fine. But underneath all of that, underneath the performance of being okay, something in your body had already responded. Something automatic, something you didn't choose. A kind of heaviness that settled in before you'd had a single conscious thought about what happened. You probably told yourself later, it was just a cafeteria. It was nothing. It was years ago. Why does it still feel like something? Here's what nobody tells you. It still feels like something because your brain never classified it as emotional in the first place. From the moment that chair was pulled away, your brain processed what happened using the same circuitry it uses when your body is physically damaged. The same regions, the same signals, the same alarm. The pain of rejection isn't a metaphor. It is not your mind being overdramatic. It is an ancient system, millions of years old, doing exactly what it was built to do. And once you understand what that system is and why it got there, you will never look at the word heartbreak the same way again. Let's go back to the beginning. There's a structure in your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. Most people have never heard of it, but it may be one of the most consequential pieces of real estate in your skull. Think of it as your brain's central alarm station, the part of you that registers when something painful is happening to your body and determines how urgently that pain matters. It fires when you burn your hand on a stove. It fires when you fall and hit pavement. It fires when your physical world is sending a signal that says, pay attention, something is wrong. For most of neuroscience's history, researchers assumed this region was dedicated to physical pain. The logic was clean. Why would a system built to register bodily damage have any interest in social situations? In 2003, a psychologist named Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA decided to test that assumption. Her team placed participants inside an fMRI scanner, a machine that tracks which regions of the brain are active in real time, and had them play an online game called Cyberball. Simple enough. 3 players tossing a virtual ball back and forth. Except the other 2 players weren't real people. They were a computer program following a script. At first, the ball came around normally. Everyone included, everyone participating. Then gradually, the other 2 players stopped throwing it to the participant. They passed it only to each other. The real person, lying in the real scanner, was cut out of a ball game that didn't even exist, by opponents who were never there. What happened inside their brains was not what anyone had predicted. The anterior cingulate cortex lit up, the same region that fires when your body takes damage. And the more distress the participant reported, the stronger the activation. Being left out of a pointless virtual game by players who were software activated the same neural alarm your brain uses when your physical body is hurt. Eisenberger's paper landed in the journal Science that year under a title that felt almost too simple. Does rejection hurt? The data said yes, literally. But that was only the first layer, because the real question wasn't whether it hurt, it was why. Why would a brain shaped by millions of years of evolution use its physical pain circuitry to process a social slight? The answer takes us somewhere much older and much darker than any cafeteria. You were born completely helpless, not helpless the way the word gets used casually. I had no idea what to do. Helpless in the most stripped-down biological sense. You could not feed yourself. You could not regulate your own temperature. You could not move towards safety or away from danger. For the early years of your life, if the people around you decided to stop caring, you would die. That's not a dramatic way of putting it. It's just the accurate one. And your brain was built in a world where that was true for a very, very long time. Not only in infancy, but across hundreds of thousands of years of human prehistory, when survival meant belonging to a group. Alone meant no fire, no shelter, no one to watch while you slept. The individuals who felt nothing when they were pushed to the margins of the group, who experienced exclusion as a neutral event, drifted away from the fire and didn't come back. The ones who felt the separation as something urgent, something intolerable, something that drove them back toward connection. Those ones stayed close. Those ones made it. Your brain wasn't trying to protect your feelings. It was trying to protect your place in the tribe. This is the framework that the neuroscientist Jaak Panksepp helped establish over decades of research into the emotional architecture of mammalian brains. The brain needed a mechanism to make social connection feel non-negotiable, not as a preference, not as a value, but as a physical imperative, the same way hunger and pain are physical imperatives. And the most reliable mechanism evolution had already invented for making something feel urgent was pain. So it did something efficient and a little merciless. It borrowed the pain system. The circuitry that already made bodily damage impossible to ignore was co-opted to make social separation register the same way. Your brain didn't develop a separate, softer system for social hurt. It drafted the existing infrastructure for physical suffering and gave it a second job. Which means something that follows from this is almost too strange to accept at first. If social and physical pain genuinely share hardware in the brain, you'd expect a drug designed for one to affect the other. You'd expect, in other words, that something like Tylenol might take the edge off of Heartbreak. In 2010, C. Nathan DeWall at the University of Kentucky decided to find out. He ran 2 experiments. In the first, participants took either a standard dose of acetaminophen, the active ingredient in Tylenol, or a placebo every day for 3 weeks. At the end of each day, they reported how much social pain they'd experienced. The placebo group showed the usual variation. The acetaminophen group reported measurably less social pain over time. Not as a side effect, not accidentally. The drug appeared to be doing to social pain what it does to physical pain. In the second experiment, DeWall put participants in fMRI scanners and had them play Cyberball again. Those who had been taking acetaminophen showed significantly reduced activation in the brain regions associated with pain distress when they were excluded. A painkiller kept in medicine cabinets for sore muscles and headaches was quieting the neural response to being left out. DeWall said afterward that the idea had seemed almost too obvious once he understood the neural overlap, but he couldn't find anyone who had actually tested it. The premise was strange enough that no one had tried, until it worked. And then, a year later, came the most striking evidence of all. In 2011, Kross at the University of Michigan recruited 40 people who shared one specific experience. Within the past 6 months, each of them had been through an unwanted romantic breakup, not a mutual parting, the kind where one person ends it and the other didn't want it to end. They were still, by their own account, significantly distressed when they thought about their ex-partner. Kross placed them in an fMRI scanner and showed them 2 kinds of photographs. One was a photo of their former partner. The other was a photo of a friend, someone they felt warmly toward, but with no romantic history. While viewing the ex-partner's photo, participants were asked to think specifically about being rejected. In a separate task, the same participants experienced mild physical pain, heat applied to their forearm, calibrated to a level they rated as genuinely uncomfortable. What Kross was doing was placing social rejection and physical pain side by side, in the same individuals, in the same scanner, and comparing what the brain did with each. The overlap went further than Eisenberger's findings. Earlier research had shown that social and physical pain shared the brain regions that register the distress of pain, the part that makes you want it to stop. What Kross found, when the rejection was sufficiently intense, was activation in regions that register the sensory dimensions of pain, the part that actually locates pain in the body. The secondary somatosensory cortex. the dorsal posterior insula. He said it plainly. Spilling hot coffee on yourself and staring at a photograph of someone who recently rejected you seem like entirely different experiences. But inside the brain of the person doing each of those things, something substantially similar is happening. To be honest about what the science actually says, some researchers have raised important questions about the strongest version of this interpretation. A 2014 study by Chung-Wan Wu and Tor Wager found that while the neural overlap is real, the precise activation patterns are not perfectly identical. Social rejection and physical pain don't produce exactly the same brain signature if you look closely enough at the data. That matters. Good science doesn't oversell. But the core finding has held. Across labs, across cultures, across more than 2 decades of research. A virtual ball game. A photograph of an ex-partner, 3 weeks of ordinary social friction. All of these register in brain circuitry built for physical pain. What this tells us isn't that social and physical pain are the same thing. It's that they share an alarm, the same urgency, the same signal that says, this cannot be ignored. Now think about what that means for the way you live today. Every time a message goes unanswered. Every time you open your phone and see a group chat where people have been talking without you. Every time you find out after the fact that there was a dinner, a gathering, a plan, and no one thought to include you. Every job rejection that arrives in a form email with your name spelled slightly wrong. Every time you see, on someone else's feed, a photograph of friends who are somewhere you weren't invited. The device in your pocket has created an infinite number of new ways to experience a signal your brain has been wired to treat as a survival threat. And your brain doesn't distinguish between ancient and modern versions of that signal. It doesn't know that the group chat is not the tribe. It doesn't know that the stranger who didn't follow you back is not someone your survival depends on. It doesn't know that the job rejection came from an HR inbox and not from the hands of someone who knows you. It just knows the signal. And it fires the same alarm it's been firing for 200,000 years. You have spent your entire life being told to get over it, to stop being sensitive, to toughen up. It was just a comment. It was just one person. It was just a lunch table. But your brain was never built to hear the word just. Being separated from the group was never just anything. It was a signal that your survival was in question. And the machinery that receives that signal, still running, right now in you, does not accept context. It doesn't downgrade the alarm because the exclusion happened online. It doesn't quiet down because you know intellectually that this isn't life or death. It responds the same way it has always responded, which means the pain you feel when you're rejected is not a character flaw. It is not evidence of fragility. It is evidence of exactly the opposite. It is the record of a system that worked, that kept your ancestors close enough to the group to survive, to eat, to have children, to become the unbroken line that eventually led to you. You didn't inherit their land. You didn't inherit their tools or their language or their specific fears. But you did inherit this, a nervous system that treats connection as something worth hurting for. There is something almost staggering about that if you sit with it long enough. Every time your chest tightens at a silence that goes on too long, every time you feel that specific weight that has no clean name, you are not experiencing a weakness. You are experiencing something 200,000 years old, a warning system built not to protect you from pain, but to protect you from disappearing. It still works, even now, even here, even for situations it was never designed for and cannot fully comprehend. That system is still inside you, running the same code it has always run, making sure you never stop caring about where you belong. The pain is not proof that something is wrong with you. It is proof that belonging has always been worth fighting for. For hundreds of thousands of years, that alarm kept someone close enough to survive. Today, it still whispers the same warning, not because you're broken, not because you're weak, but because somewhere deep inside your nervous system, your brain still believes no human being was ever meant to face the world alone. But here's the question that the science leaves unanswered, the one that may matter even more. If rejection registers as physical pain, then what happens when the rejection doesn't end? When it's not a single moment, a single chair, a single message that never comes, but a condition that stretches on, day after day, with no tribe to return to? What happens when the alarm never shuts off? That's a different story, and it may be the darker one.